Fact, the Seventh-day Adventist Church of North America has murdered more Black Americans than the KKK. Here is the evidence. Fact, the Adventist fundamental beliefs state right there that Jesus, truly God, became truly human at the moment of conception. God did not send his Holy Spirit to make a worthless clump of cells. Jesus became truly human at conception, and if he is truly human, then all are truly human at conception. By definition, all of our Black brothers and sisters became our brothers and sisters at conception. Fact, the authors of the Bible consistently, repeatedly, and unanimously described the unborn as living human beings. Fact, in both the Old and New Testaments, the authors of the Bible made no distinction whatsoever between the born and unborn humans. They are all humans. Fact, the number one Adventist belief, which you can see right here, states that the Bible is authoritative. Therefore, the unborn are human beings and abortion is murder. Fact, the early founders and leaders of the Adventist Church agreed and unanimously and consistently used only one word to describe abortion: murder. Fact, a research paper presented at Loma Linda University records the historical fact that in 1970-1971, the Adventist Church adopted a pro-abortion position for the purpose of making money and has maintained this position for over 45 years. Fact, based on data from this Loma Linda research paper and other sources, it is estimated that at least a very conservative estimate is that since 1970, at least 15,000 children have been murdered via abortions in North American Adventist hospitals under the stated mission, the healing ministry of Jesus Christ. Fact, the Seventh-day Adventist Official Ministry magazine on page 16 of the August 1991 issue says right there that Adventist hospitals were performing abortion on demand to the 20th week and even later for compelling social reasons, and they were still in harmony with the GC guidelines. And that is a quote from the GC Vice President, July 8, 1970. Top church leaders admitted over 40 years ago that Adventist hospitals were performing abortions on demand past 5 months. Keep this fact in your mind. These are fully formed, kicking, moving babies. Fact, the Bible records that John the Baptist at 6 months in his mother's womb was leaping with joy at the sound of Mary's voice. The vice president of the General Conference admitted that we have murdered babies even more developed than John. Fact, the Guttmacher Institute is the research arm of Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion provider in the USA. The Guttmacher Policy Review writes right here, this much is true. In the USA, the abortion rate for Black women is almost 5 times that for white women. Fact, the CDC has reported that while Black women make up only 6% of the population, they have accounted for 35% of all abortions. Fact, if you multiply the conservative estimate of 15,000 abortions by 35%, it is a very conservative estimate that the Adventist hospitals with the Adventist name, with the approval and support of Adventist church leadership, have violently dismembered, tortured, and murdered at least 5,250 of our Black brothers and sisters in the womb. Fact, in 2010, the Tuskegee Institute published research on the lynching of blacks by the KKK and other groups from the year 1882 to 1968, and found that over this period there were 3,446 lynchings of blacks, while the Equal Justice Initiative in their report documented 3,959. Even if you take the most conservative estimate of 15,000 abortions and the highest maximum number of Black murders, it is a documented historical fact that the Adventist Church of North America has murdered more Black Americans than the KKK ever. Fact. The number one way that black Americans die is by abortion. Fact. The abortion industry kills more blacks in 4 days than the KKK did in over 150 years. Fact. Planned Parenthood is the number one provider of abortion. Planned Parenthood is the number one killer of black Americans today. Fact. Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and she said the most merciful thing that a family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. She also said, "We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population." Dr. Pedrito Maynard Reed is a professor of theology at an Adventist university in Walla Walla. As a leader in the community, he invited the CEO of guess which organization? That's right, Planned Parenthood, to speak at his event. Fact. Non-Adventist media here and here picked up on this, but the NAD and the Adventist Review were silent.
Since 1973, legal abortion has killed more African Americans than AIDS, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and violent crime combined. Every week, more blacks die in American abortion clinics than were killed in the entire Vietnam War. And the largest chain of abortion clinics in the United States is operated by Planned Parenthood.
Birth control and abortion are turning out to be the great eugenic advances of our time. Frederick Osborne, founding member of the American Eugenics Society, 1973.
The best way to hate a nigger is to hate him before he is born. Leander Perez, Louisiana State Judge, 1970.
Fact. Sheila Jackson Lee is a congresswoman from Texas. As one of the few Adventists ever in Congress, this woman uses her influence to vote for laws allowing unrestricted partial birth abortions. This is a North American Adventist in name, seeking to enact death decrees for innocent children. Fact. Partial birth abortion is just that. It is giving birth to a living baby feet first. But while the head is still in the mother's womb, they shove scissors into the base of the skull and then insert a catheter or vacuum to suck out the brains, causing the skull to collapse. Fact. In 2016, Oakwood Adventist University invited her to speak and gave her the Black History Award, which is by definition absolutely insane because the most dangerous place for black Americans is in the womb. Nothing kills more blacks than abortion, and she supports it. They are rewarding her for her hard work to ensure that black Americans are murdered, and they invited her to speak in the church on the Sabbath during divine service. Fact. The NAD and Adventist Review were again silent and said nothing.
The minister's work is also important, and also he should be trained, perhaps by the Federation, as to our ideals and the goal that we hope to reach. We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
Sanger's letter makes it clear that the eugenics movement understood they would need to neutralize the opposition they might get from the church. They also knew that this would be especially crucial within the African American community. Their strategy was to manipulate church leadership into selling the illusion that support for eugenics was not inconsistent with the Christian faith. To do this, they would often recruit pastors to be frontmen for eugenics policies and provide them with prepackaged sermons on eugenics. They also held contests in which awards would be given to the ministers who came up with the best pro-eugenics sermons on their own. This approach proved so effective that an almost identical strategy would be adopted by the American abortion lobby.
I know this is going to be a hard fact for many people to accept, but the Loma Linda research paper documents the historical fact that the NAD and Adventist Review for over 16 years intentionally lied about the Adventist involvement in child murder via abortion. They lied both to the public and to their own church, and it is easy to verify this. You can read the research paper and look up the references in the archives online in a matter of minutes. Fact. Dr. Pedrito at Walla Walla and Sheila Jackson at Oakwood are just two of many examples of Adventist leadership showing support for, and in some cases even demanding, that the church support the murder of children as a right. This is documented in my other videos. Finally, a video on Adventist church murdering more blacks than the KKK would not be complete without mentioning Dr. Edward Allred. Fact, both La Sierra and Loma Linda University and others openly honor a man whose stated goal was to kill as many blacks and Hispanics as possible. At one time, Dr. Allred owned the largest chain of abortion clinics in California and boasted he was responsible for over 250,000 abortions. In an interview with the San Diego Union here, Dr. Allred said, "We're experts in abortion. We've done it hundreds of thousands of times." He stated that he was very interested in aborting babies of certain races, especially Hispanics and blacks. Population control is too important to be stopped by some pro-life types. Take the new influx of Hispanic immigrants. Their lack of respect of democracy and social order is frightening. I hope I can do something to stem that tide. I'd set up a clinic in Mexico for free if I could. Maybe one in Calexico would help. And when a sullen black woman can decide to have a baby and get welfare and become a burden to all of us, it's time to stop. In parts of South LA, having babies for welfare is the only industry the people have. In 2010, La Sierra established a center in the business school to promote financial literacy and entrepreneurship, and they named the center after Dr. Edward Allred. What La Sierra did was so offensive that it was reported by the Christian Post here and Christianity Today here. Again, the Adventist church was given a black eye and blasted in the media because of this. Again, and you should expect this by now, the NAD and Adventist Review said nothing. Not only did they name the center after Allred, but La Sierra put a plaque on the wall which reads, "This Adventist University wishes to thank Allred for supporting the School of Business. His thoughtful generosity will forever be an example to our students, reminding them to make a difference with the resources that God has entrusted to their care." Yes, that's correct. This man who hates babies, hates women, hates blacks, and hates Hispanics, he is going to be an example to Adventist students forever. Making money from murdering the innocent is the example. Ripping babies to pieces for money is called entrepreneurship. Fact, it says on their website right here that Allred is the inspiration behind its economic philosophy. Loma Linda University and Hospital is considered the mecca and flagship of Adventist healthcare. The Loma Linda administration honors Allred as the #1 benefactor right here. The mission of the Loma Linda School of Medicine is to make a man whole. But on their wall of honored benefactors, you can see Edward Allred right here, honored again. They actually honored him right next to the Hispanic supporters, as you can see right here. La Sierra says that Allred is their example, but Loma Linda has a wall of distinguished ambassadors. And again, there is Dr. Allred. The Mecca of Adventist health tells the world their goal is to make people whole, but they've made the most notorious abortionist in USA history their ambassador. An ambassador is, by definition, a person who acts as a representative or a promoter of a specified activity. This murderer is the example for Adventist youth and an ambassador, a representative for Adventist health care. Fact, Dr. Allred specifically targeted blacks and Hispanics, but even if we take the numbers from the Guttmacher and the CDC, multiply 250,000 by 35%, then Allred has murdered at least 87,500 blacks. Remember, the estimated numbers for the KKK and black lynchings are between 3,500 and 4,000. Even with a conservative 87,500 and the maximum of 4,000 lynchings, Dr. Allred has single-handedly murdered 22 times more blacks than the KKK ever. Dr. Allred told the Fresno Bee newspaper, "I don't mean to toot my own horn, but it's safe to say that I have far more experience than anyone else in the USA in doing this particular thing. Never, ever, 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 ever let a North American Adventist tell you that our church does not support the violent murder of children. It is a documented historical fact that the North American Adventist Church has murdered more Black Americans than the KKK ever. It is a documented fact that the North American Adventist leaders are spineless cowards who, with no biblical authority whatsoever, have supported and participated in the violent murder of children. And it is a documented fact that even to this day, right now, this very moment, the NAD openly celebrates and honors a man who has murdered 22 times more blacks than the entire history of the KKK. The NAD even built an Adventist church for this man at his horse racing track. This is the 21st century North American Adventist Church, honoring a man who boasted of murdering more children than anyone else in all of USA history, if not the entire history of the world, and that is a fact.